You know how it is, we're always trying to learn, right? To really grasp important stuff. But sometimes it feels like information overload.
It definitely
Yeah.
can,
Right.
especially with texts that have, well, layers upon layers of meaning.
Exactly. So what if we could get straight to the core wisdom? Become genuinely well-informed on something foundational like the Bhagavad Gita, but without feeling totally swamped.
That's precisely the idea for this deep dive. We're focusing on the Gita, a scripture with just timeless insights.
Okay, great. So what's the plan?
Well, our mission today is to unpack 10 really essential verses. We'll be drawing heavily on the amazing understanding offered by Swami Dayananda, particularly his home study course.
Yes, that's a fantastic resource.
It really is. And we'll also bring in insights from Swami Vidyatmananda's teachings and, of course, the classic commentaries of Sri Sankara.
Okay, so multiple perspectives focused on key verses. This sounds like a direct path to the Gita's essence.
That's the goal. These 10 verses, they really touch on the pivotal themes. So we'll cover the intro, the nature of the self, Isvara.
The different lifestyles, karma yoga, sannyasa.
Right, and the conclusion. We'll aim for summaries, but with enough detail to stick. Keep it conversational. Avoid the heavy jargon.
Perfect. Okay, let's dive in. Where do we start?
We start right at the beginning of the teaching, chapter 2, verses, say, 2 through 11. This is where it all kicks off.
This is the battlefield scene, right? Arjuna's crisis.
Exactly. You have Arjuna, this incredible warrior, just falling apart emotionally. He sees his relatives, his teachers on the other side, and he's completely paralyzed, bewildered about his duty, his dharma.
It's such a powerful human moment, isn't it? This mighty hero just overwhelmed by inner conflict.
Absolutely. And in that moment of crisis, he does something crucial. He turns to Krishna, not just as his friend, but as a student seeking clear guidance.
That's the turning point.
Yes. Verse 7 in chapter 2 really captures it. He basically says, I'm confused about my duty. My mind is reeling. Tell me definitively what's good for me. I'm your disciple. Please teach me.
That vulnerability, that willingness to say, I don't know.
That's the key. That surrender, as Swami Dayananda really emphasizes, is the fertile ground from which all the Gita's teachings spring. It sets everything in motion.
Okay, so Arjuna's ready to learn. Where does Krishna begin? What's the first lesson?
Krishna starts with the absolute foundation, the nature of the self. Who are we, really? Chapter 2, verse 21 is a key one here, something Swami Vidyatmananda often highlights.
And what does it say?
It says the self is unborn, it's eternal, it never decays. Critically, it's not killed when the body is slain.
Wow. Right there in the middle of a battlefield discussion. That's quite a statement. How do we wrap our heads around that?
Well, Gita uses a very helpful analogy, often elaborated on in the teachings, the idea of changing clothes.
Changing clothes.
Yeah, just like you take off old clothes and put on new ones, the self, the real you, moves from one body to another. The bodies change, wear out, but the self continues untouched.
So the body is like a temporary garment, but the wearer, the self, endures.
Precisely. And verses 16 and 17 in that same chapter drive this home. They distinguish between Sat, the real, the unchanging self, and Asat, the unreal, the constantly changing world and body.
Sat and Asat, the permanent versus the transient.
Exactly. Sri Sankara, his commentary, really points this out. The self is the underlying reality beneath all these changing appearances.
That understanding must change everything. So the Gita then describes someone who gets this, who lives from that understanding.
It does. Still in chapter 2, verse 55, gives us a picture of this person, the one whose mind is steady, who is situated in the self.
What are they like? What are the signs?
Well, a key characteristic is freedom from clinging to desires. They find contentment within. Their satisfaction isn't dependent on getting this or avoiding that externally.
So not chasing happiness outside themselves.
Right. And Swami Dayananda often clarified, this isn't about, forcefully suppressing desires, but understanding they're fleeting compared to the permanence of the self. It puts them in perspective.
That sounds like a deep inner peace.
It is. And another sign is detachment from outcomes. They remain balanced amidst life's opposites: pleasure, pain, success, failure, honor, dishonor. They see these as waves on the surface that don't affect the deep ocean of the self.
Okay, so this understanding of the self builds a kind of inner resilience. Fascinating. Now, what about the divine? What about Isvara?
Good question. Chapter 9, verse 4 gives us a core insight here. It states that this whole creation, everything we see and don't see, is pervaded by Isvara in his unmanifest form.
Pervaded by Isvara. So God is in everything.
Yes, Isvara the Lord isn't distant. He's intimately present within all creation. But, as Swami Vidyatmananda explains, it's not like everything is God in a simple pantheistic way. It's more a relationship of Inherence.
Inherence, how do we grasp that? Pervasive yet distinct.
There's a classic analogy used here. Cotton and the weaver.
Okay.
The cotton is the material cause of the cloth, right? The stuff it's made of. The weaver is the intelligent cause, the one who shapes it. Isvara is both the material and intelligent cause of the universe.
So providing the substance and the design.
Exactly. But just like the weaver isn't the same thing as the cloth, Isvara, while pervading and upholding everything, also transcends his creation. He supports all beings, but isn't dependent on them.
That analogy really helps clarify that. Okay. Now, the Gita famously talks about different paths, doesn't it? Different approaches to spiritual life.
It does. Chapter 3, verse 3 introduces this early on. Lord Krishna speaks of two main paths, or lifestyles, you could say.
And what are they?
First is Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. This is generally for those more inclined towards contemplation, study, philosophical inquiry.
The thinkers, maybe.
You could say that. And the second is Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. This is for those naturally drawn to activity, to engagement, to work in the world.
So knowledge and action, it's interesting that both are presented. Does the Gita favor one?
No, not at all. This is something Swami Dayananda often stressed. The Gita recognizes these different temperaments. It makes clear that both paths, if followed correctly with the right understanding, lead to the same ultimate goal, liberation. They're just different routes up the same mountain.
That makes sense. Let's dig into Karma Yoga then, the path of action. Chapter 2, verse 47 is probably one of the most famous verses, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's incredibly well known and foundational for Karma Yoga. To action alone, you have a right, never to its fruits.
Right.
Let not the fruits of action be your motive, nor let your attachment be to inaction.
Okay, break that down. What's the core message?
The core message, as Sri Sankara explains it, is about performing your actions, your duties, wholeheartedly, but without being attached to the specific results. Your focus is on the doing, not the getting.
So put in your best effort, do your job, but don't fixate on whether you'll succeed or fail or what reward you'll get.
Exactly, because that attachment to results is what causes anxiety, frustration, disappointment. We control our actions, our effort, but the results, they depend on many factors beyond our control. So act well, but let go of the outcome. And importantly, don't swing to the other extreme and just give up on action altogether. That's the attachment to inaction part.
Okay, so act skillfully, but with inner detachment. This idea gets developed further, right? I think in chapter 18.
Yes, chapter 18, verse 46 builds beautifully on this. It says that you attain perfection, you attain the ultimate goal, by worshiping Isvara through performing your own duty, your svadharma.
Worshipping through your duty, how does that work?
It means seeing your work, your responsibilities, whatever they are, based on your nature and place in life, as your way of connecting with and honoring the divine. Performing your own work, even if it seems less glamorous or imperfect, is considered better than trying to do someone else's duty, even if you could do it well.
So find the spiritual potential in what you're already doing.
Precisely. Swami Vidyatmananda often emphasizes this, finding purpose and growth right within your own life, your own responsibilities. Dedicate the action and its fruits to Isvara. This turns work itself into a form of yoga, a spiritual practice that purifies the mind.
That's a powerful reframing of everyday life. Now, what about the other path mentioned earlier, the path more focused on renunciation, Sannyasa Yoga?
Right, Sannyasa Yoga. Chapter 5, verse 6 offers a really important clarification here. It suggests that true sannyasa, true renunciation, is actually very difficult to attain without being established in yoga, specifically karma yoga first.
Oh, interesting. So action prepares you for renunciation?
In a sense, yes. The verse says the karma yogi, the one engaged in selfless action, whose mind becomes purified through that practice, attains Brahman, the ultimate reality, quickly. Swami Dayananda would point out that real sannyasa isn't just about physically giving things up, it's an inner state of maturity and detachment.
An inner state.
Yes, and karma yoga helps cultivate that. Sri Sankara's commentary links true sannyasa to freedom from the pairs of opposites, like and dislike, desire and aversion. It's about transcending those poles, and selfless action is a key way to achieve that mental purification.
Okay, so Karma Yoga paves the way. Then chapter 5, verse 13 gives a description of someone in that state of renunciation.
It does. It paints a picture of the embodied being someone still in a body who has gained mastery over their senses and has mentally renounced all actions.
Mentally renounced actions while still in a body.
Yes. They reside happily in the city of 9 gates. That's a metaphor for the body, with its openings understanding that the true self is neither acting nor causing action. The actions belong to the body-mind complex, driven by nature, but the self, the dweller, is distinct and uninvolved.
Connecting back to that core understanding of the self as the non-doer.
Exactly. It's rooted in that clear discrimination between the self and the instruments of action, the body and mind, a concept we see explored earlier, too.
It sounds like a state of profound inner freedom, watching the play of life without being entangled. So we've covered the self, Isvara, the paths.
Yeah.
How does Krishna bring it all together? What's the final ultimate instruction?
Well, we arrive at the climax of the teaching in chapter 18, verse 66. This is often considered the final, most direct instruction from Krishna.
Okay, the grand finale. What does it say?
Krishna tells Arjuna, abandoning all duties, dharmas, take refuge in me alone. I shall liberate you from all sins. Do not grieve.
Wow. Abandon all duties. After emphasizing karma yoga and doing one's duty so much, how do we understand that?
That's the crucial point of interpretation, often discussed in the commentaries. It's generally understood not as literally abandoning all actions, but abandoning the attachment to them, the sense of doership, and ultimately abandoning the reliance on action itself as the primary means, and instead taking complete refuge in Isvara, in the divine will and grace. It's a call for total surrender and knowledge.
So it's the culmination of understanding, realizing the self is not the doer, recognizing Isvara as the ultimate reality, and placing complete trust and surrender there.
Precisely. It's the pinnacle of devotion and knowledge combined. Having understood everything else, the final step is this complete letting go into the divine. Krishna offers this assurance. Take refuge in me, and I will take care of the liberation from all limitations, all sins, or imperfections. Don't worry.
A message of ultimate hope and security grounded in that surrender.
Yes. And the surrounding verses emphasize that this teaching is profound and should be received with reverence and faith. It's the essence of the Gita's promise.
So bringing it all together then, these 10 verses really provide a roadmap, don't they?
They absolutely do. You see the flow. Arjuna's crisis opens the door. Understanding the eternal self gives you the foundation.
Yeah.
Recognizing Isvara gives your life context and purpose.
Then the paths of karma yoga and jnana yoga offer practical approaches depending on your nature.
Right. With karma yoga helping you act in the world without getting bound, purifying your mind, and paving the way for the deeper understanding and renunciation, sannyasa.
And it all culminates in that final call for surrender, for taking refuge in the divine based on that knowledge.
Exactly. It's this beautiful, interconnected web of teachings. It shows how knowledge, action, and devotion all work together, leading towards liberation, towards inner freedom.
It really is remarkable how these ancient verses, especially when viewed through the lens of teachers like Swami Dayananda, Swami Vidyatmananda, and Sri Sankara, still offer such practical, profound guidance.
They really do. And, this deep dive today, it's just scratching the surface. It's really an invitation for you, the listener, to explore further. The Gita is just this vast ocean of wisdom.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. How might really internalizing this distinction between your true self, eternal, unchanging, and the temporary experiences of your body and mind, how might that shift the way you approach your day-to-day actions, your responsibilities, even your challenges?
That's a powerful question to sit with.
It really is. We hope this has sparked your interest to perhaps pick up the Gita, maybe explore some of these commentaries, and continue your own journey into this timeless wisdom. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.